Hey everyone, welcome to FMA Talk Live. I'm your co-host, Datu Hartman, joined with my other co-host, Datu Tye Botting. I don't know, would I say my other co-host? I don't know.
I'm not sure that works. But anyway, we're both here.
We're both here. All right, and we've got a little new graphics going on. Love to hear what you think about that. Hey, and BG Ty, don't forget about the comment section on the side that you can look.
Right. Yep. Gotcha.
So I'm going to put the ticker up. There we go. So we've got a few things here that are new. We've got a new transparency up in the center here. It talks about, it says FMA Talks Martial Chronicles. This is the Modern Ernice series with our Modern Ernice logo. And we have the social medias for PG Ty and myself down there. Of course, the ticker is going to have to be updated because we updated the graphic and I didn't do that. But, I'd love to hear what y'all think. Here we go. Good evening, Mr. Chris. How you doing?
Hey there.
Chris made a comment earlier today. He saw my post on sticks that I was shipping out.
I saw that. Actually, I've seen a few posts of his today.
And David's like, they're mine. You can't have any.
Right.
So I do make sticks. I got plenty in stock. I will say this, though. The intermediate size, which is a 7/8 to an inch, is on back order with the preferred Manal rattan. And it's probably not going to be here till the new year. There is another rattan I'll be sampling. So we might have, can you click on it to see if that comes up, or we already tried this?
I didn't do anything when I clicked on it.
Okay. All right. So Larry is coming in from Durango, Colorado. He's one of our virtual students, and he comes to Buffalo physically, and then he was just doing class tonight. Hey, this is Jason Ward from Barrie. I think Jason's been on here a few times already.
Nice.
Scott Spencer, how you doing? Kentucky. Oh, well, that's Todd. that's his pen name. Keep forgetting about that. And then, of course, Mr. Jeff Owens, who has promised to come on the show when we start talking about Modern Arnis, Michigan. That will be an episode. And then Jeremy from Sudbury, which is 4 hours north of Toronto, a little farther north of Barrie, 2 hours. Barrie is. Hey, now here's what I've heard. The Canadian border is going to be opening up on the 9th, but so far it's a one-way trip. It's U.S. going to Canada. They're not going to be coming back. So evidently, if I go up there, I can't come back to the States.
Okay.
And Mr. Wolf from Ohio.
Hey there.
We're waiting to find out what's going on. Hopefully, when they open up, the White House has not committed yet to whether or not the border is going to be reciprocating the openness at that time. I'm assuming it will, because vaccination is vaccination. And that's the big thing. I'm vaccinated, so as of August 9th, theoretically, I can go up to Canada, and I will be. Not that weekend, but I will be going up there. A few events we're going to be talking about and stuff like that.
Good deal.
So I'm going to do a quick intro. First of all, everybody, please, if you get a chance, go over to our YouTube channel. You can look up Datu Hartman or Tim Hartman. Either one works. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Hit that notification button, and please feel free to share this wherever you want. PG Ty, and we see down here, it is Ty's Kung Fu, TYESKF on YouTube, or you look up Punong Guro Tye, and you'll find his YouTube channel there.
Yeah, there's not too many ties out there, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah, TYE. Now, today's topic is the second in our Modern Arnis Chronicles. It is on Presas Arnis. Ty's going to be taking point on this because I'm the one being interviewed on this one. But as always, listen, if someone doesn't like what we're saying, too bad. No. If someone doesn't feel that they've been represented properly and they'd love to be on the show, I've heard some stuff from the Filipinos afterwards talking about their organizations like PCAF, because PCAF was not included. But I was under the assumption that was primarily a tournament thing. It may also be a martial thing. So I did invite Bamba Dulai to be on the show. I haven't heard anything back yet since then, but by all means, we would love to have people on the show. And if we misrepresent part of the history, we're going things based on what we know. And we weren't around for everything. So if there's a bit of information that we're missing, I'd love to get it. Like, I spent more time with Professor than I think any American has. And every time I saw him, I learned something new, which makes me wonder, how much did I miss? So by no means do I say I know it all. I'm Mr. Know-it-all, but I'm not saying I know it all. I'm saying there's a lot I know, but there's probably a lot I don't as well. So with no further ado, I like the graphic. Oh, good. Do you know knife drills that were modeled after it? Maybe. I'd love to see what you're talking about. That way I know if we're on the same page or not. Mm-hmm. All right. So, PG Tye, it is all you.
Well, so what's the title? It says it's What is Presas Arnis, right?
Yes.
So I think what we have to start with is, first off, some people may not know the background of the Presas name, right? So if we're talking about what is Presas Arnis, we have to start with what is Presas? Who were the Presases? How does this fit in, and go from there? That's what I'm thinking.
I think you've got it spot on.
So, to you, so what do we know about the Presases, and in particular the main one that we're probably going to zero in on?
Okay, so obviously Remy was Kuya, big brother. So Remy started studying Filipino martial arts, the family system, during World War II. His father was teaching the guerrillas, and he was watching them train them. And then graduation came up, and Professor actually walked up and reported for graduation. And his father's like, "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to graduate." Mm-hmm. And then he demonstrated all the stuff that his father was teaching the guerrillas. And his father and his grandfather his grandfather was so impressed. He started teaching. The grandfather started teaching Remy. Now, I've heard generationally speaking, a lot of times it skips a generation per se. It doesn't skip, but it's not handed down father to son. A lot of times it's more grandfather to grandson, because a lot of times the father's working during that time, where grandpa wouldn't. So not that Remy didn't learn from his father, because I used to hear all these. I would talk to the children. Mary Jane would talk about how Remy and their father would fight all the time, and they'd be stuck judging. Like, "I got you first. I got you first." So there was that as well. But Leo Presas was the one. Leonardo Presas, I think it is. Not to be confused with the Ninja Turtle. That's another Leonardo. But he taught Remy, and then Remy went on his journey.
So what were some of the characteristics, or even if there was a name of the style, just so that people get a feel for what he started out with the family work?
So to my knowledge, based on our conversations, the core of the family system was the police. So during World War II, it would have been very belated. At least that's what he'd be teaching the soldiers. As far as what the family are, I've heard a couple different stories on how Filipino martial arts evolved during World War II, where some arts were more stick-based. But when World War II happened, they became bladed, because obviously a hunk of rattan against a katana or a rifle with a bayonet just doesn't cut it. Pun not intended on that one. So then from there, these systems would either stay that way or would go back to their roots. Now, Balintawak, which comes from Doce Pares, was stick and dagger, was Doce Pares, and Balintawak ended up being single stick. So if they ever did any blade, because the Saavedra brothers, who were the head of the club who taught Anshan, they were killed during World War II. I'm assuming they would have been doing more bladed at the time if they were using those tools, if they weren't using firearms. But obviously that, Doce Pares didn't stay bladed. I don't see them using swords. Knives, it's more of an escort weapon, or so Remy himself was, in my opinion, was more of a humanitarian. He only wanted to beat you with a stick. He didn't want to stab you with a knife or decapitate you or anything like that. So he didn't want to kill you. He just wanted to mess you up.
Well, and in between, right? In between the family style work and then ending up, in the trenches with Blendwalk folks. Anything you want to call out as far as other exposures Remy had along the way?
Well, Remy never stopped adding to the modern Ernie's mix. That was a constant thing. When he came in contact with something, he would see something, he go, oh, look, that is now part of the modern Ernie's. It may have been Taekwondo for all intents and purposes. So, so Remy left the house at his 14 and went out training and traveling. So he trained with a bunch of systems. When I talked to him, specifically, he told me that in Filipino martial arts, Balintawak was part of it. It was definitely heavy influences if you know what you're looking at, if you trained it at the right era. He told me that it was Kuntao and modern Arnis. There's Sikaran. Matter of fact, so I do Sikaran, and which is a Filipino kicking art similar to Taekwondo, but not quite the same. When you're looking at the sport, it looks a lot like it. When you look at the self-defense, the street combatives, all the kicks are low. But obviously when we do a sport, we have to make it safer for people. So usually above the belt. Remy gave me my very first lesson in Sikaran in the 80s. And then I started training in, I want to say 2007-ish, maybe later. And the very first lesson that I got was the very first lesson that Remy gave me. So I'm up in Toronto with Marc De Leon, part of the World Sikaran Brotherhood, and it's the exact same classes 20-some years later.
Nice. That's a nice
connection. And then obviously if you knew Remy in the States, there's the small circle jiu-jitsu influence. There's the DKI influence of form applications and stuff like that. And this goes back to the conversation we had last week and talking about organizations and styles, or the other week we talked about modern Arnis being the most misunderstood of the Filipino martial arts, and it's mostly misunderstood by the people doing it. I mean, as well, and there is so much more to the art, or for Remy's expression, but if you're used to learning things, you may not have looked to see different things. But I will go off on a tirade on that one. So.
Well, let's before we go into the main question, I only had one last thing that I was wanting to touch base into.
Sure.
So, and because I think it kind of lets us finish from last week, and that is, let's just touch upon why did Remy pick modern in front of the name, modern Arnis, and so then that's what we do. And then we'll get to the next questions later, but I think that pertains.
Okay, so first of all, modern Arnis is not Arnis. It's Eskrima. Mm-hmm. So Remy's first book was The Practical Art of Eskrima, which we refer to as the white book, the white covered book. And then the story, I've heard different stories later, but Remy formed the art in 1957. And what I heard for decades was that it was his wife that said you should use the word Arnis instead of Eskrima, and Remy called it modern. And some people told me that was Ernesto's thing, but Ernesto wasn't even a teenager when Remy created the system, so I don't know how much input he would have had at the time. And like I said, it was an afterthought. I find in martial systems, a lot of times people put stories on different people. And the one I'll give out is that there was a potential for a debate where Dan Anderson made a comment once publicly about how Hawk Hockheim got Remy to talk to Ernesto. And I'm like, no, that is not the case. That was me. Well, he was working on it. No. And then Giovanni, who was he was in Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken, he was a Komutan guy. He was attached to the Australian group, and he's like, no. The year that Tim went, Grandmaster Ernesto made a big to-do about how Tim Hartman got his brother to talk to him, and they went to the grave, and they went all this stuff, and a lot of the guys like, you know what, if it's important to Grandmaster Ernesto to go to the grave, we're going, but we don't really care because we didn't have that connection with him. and we don't feel the need to go there. But if it's important to Ernesto, it's important to us. And that's some of the stories that people were telling me. And he just wanted to pay him out. And a lot of it, I think, was because I was there and he wanted to show solidarity. He invited me in. It was 2007 I went. Yeah. Oh, let me see what we have. Some people in here. I read. What did we read?
We just talked about that.
Okay. Yes. User number one. I don't know who you are. I think he's coming in. I bet you I know who it is, but respects from Morocco. If that's the same person, brother? Yes. Balintawak was the last art that Remy trained before forming Modern Ernies, but it wasn't the last influence of Modern Ernies. And look at this. Watching from Hinigaran.
Nice.
Now, for those, does anyone? Okay, I'm not going to say a word. Can anyone tell me the significance about this person chiming in from Negran, Negros Occidental, Philippines? And respects from Morocco. I know who that is. Can someone tell me why that's important?
I won't answer. I'll stay quiet too.
How would you pronounce that first name? And it's a Presas. There you go.
Flardel? I don't know.
Well, okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that is the Presas home. That's their home. That's the hometown. And Negros Occidental versus Negros Oriental. So this is the northern part of the island. About an hour, 45 minutes to an hour from Bacola, depending on who's driving.
Right.
And there we go. Ron, good to see you too. All right.
So one other story about the name, right? And one of the aspects that I was always told, and I'd love to hear your take on it, was that partly chose modern because one of the things it emphasized during teaching, especially in the schools, you were allowed stick contact, whereas usually it used to be hand and arm and whatnot contact.
Well, that helped describe. I mean, the big thing is it was a marketing thing.
Mm.
It was a modern approach. But okay, so here's the thing, and this became a debate at one time. So I was talking to a Balintawak guy, and there's a couple people in particular. One person in particular would always sit there and say, Remy went stick on stick exclusively during the training, showing how you could go skin on stick on flesh when you wanted to. But that was an example of a modern approach. Now, some people say, Modern Ernies isn't the only one to do it. I go, but Balintawak isn't exclusively stick on stick. If depending on the lineage, if you learned the original lineage, you would smack the wrist, smack the hand. I mean, especially with dealing with a thrust, you would deflect with your free hand and you'd hit the wrist and then go for the head. So there's a lot of times when you would actually hit the arm. And then if you're doing the grouping methodology, I mean, even in the basic play, you check with the hand, you hit with the arm, you hit the arm with the stick and then go back up. Mm-hmm. So that's not exclusive. Right. But I think Remy saw that the quantity of stick on stick contact inspired him to go stick on stick exclusively during that training process.
I see. That makes sense.
Okay. I just joined the conversation, so sorry I missed. Oh, no, not a problem, brother or sister.
Right.
It's all good. All good.
It's going to stay on, right? So people can watch this later too, right?
Yeah. So this will be there for recording or for posterity. So
we kind of described modern and how Remy fit into that and everything like that. So now that we're talking about the subject at hand, let's sort of dive into the question, which is, what is Presas Arnis? And I'm going to kind of steer you into that with what I think might be a good way to approach it. And that is, so given that we described this path and the connection and interactions that Remy had developing the art, what is, I guess, the purpose or what's behind the name choice? And then we'll get to some other details about what the training ends up being.
Okay. So this has come up a couple times. So why am I choosing to use the term Presas Arnis? I guess that's really the main question. And there's been comments. People have actually busted my chops on this recently on some interviews without naming my name, which I thought the least they could do was have the backbone to at least mention my name. But whatever. I pay homage to the family. So, first of all, as I said, I got the brothers talking. And if things would have worked out, I would have got the brothers doing seminars together. But I met Ernesto in a 98, which started all this going. And I started training combatant from that moment. And I started combatant as it being a derivative of modern Arnis. I went to meet Ernesto because he was Remy's brother. And it was important to me, based on my personal connection with Remy, to meet his family. Okay, that's the way I look at it. It is to meet the family. And hello, Alex.
Hey.
I've had people say, "Oh, I would never go visit Ernesto. That's disrespecting Remy." Some people have some very weird respect. They have a respect compass that I'm like not figuring what it is. I go, if you're a family member, I want to meet you. Now, I developed a good friendship with him very quickly. And part of it was the reason, before I met him, I got Remy talking to his brother. Okay. Hello, Miguel. And I'd like to see Alex on here as well. So I trained with Ernesto up until he passed away, so I had almost, I started, it was in Maine, I think it was, I saw him, and then I went out to Lake Tahoe where he was there, hung out with him a few times there, went to the Philippines camp. In 2007, he promoted me to 9th degree and Grand Master in combatant. And when he did this, he made a point. He said, "Tim, I can't promote you in my brother's art, but I can promote you in mine." Mm-hmm. So I was always trying to figure out, how do I talk to people who train in other branches of modern Arnis, like first-generation students of first-generation people. Sure. The Mots do things differently than I do. I mean, everyone does it differently than I do, because everyone does it differently than everybody else.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out a way, and I was different because I did modern Arnis exclusively. I didn't do it as a supplemental art. I did it as the primary art. So, and for a while I was like, all right, now I've added Ernesto's stuff to what we're doing, and I've continued my research in the arts. I'm doing Balintawak in there. And the thing here is Remy got me into doing Balintawak because he wanted to go get the material so he could add more to it. He sat there and said, first of all, if you want to learn real stick fighting, study with Ted Buat, which shocked me because I'm like, I thought I was training real stick fighting with you, sir. But, and I think it was real stick fighting, but the thing here is this modern Arnis at the lower levels, like the pre-black, is really geared for self-defense if you look at it, but that's another topic.
Well, and he was also big on recognizing that, hey, this is Filipino sport, martial culture, right? That piece as well.
So, I kept pushing forward and doing different things to expand my knowledge. And it was all about looking at the core system and seeing different pieces of it, seeing the roots of the art, seeing the things that led into the art. And then, finally with combatant, looking at one of its derivatives and going down that path. Because Ernesto, even though he wasn't old enough to create the art with his brother, he and Roberto helped with the development over years as the art grew in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. Roberto and Ernesto definitely contributed to what was going on. Yeah.
That's another discussion.
All right. In combatant, I don't like this. In combatant, 8th and 9th degree are Grandmaster, 10th degree is Great Grandmaster. Mm-hmm. So going back to what we were talking about last week, the problem I have in our community, the modern Arnis community, is a lot of people are they're not doing Remy's arts. They're not doing Remy's standards. They're not doing Remy's protocol. In modern Arnis, there was only one Grandmaster, Remy Presas. Mm-hmm. It's the only rank-driven title. Okay. But most of the people in question in the Philippines and in Europe that are pushing this came from Ernesto. and they're using his belt structure, his title structure, and all this other stuff, while saying they're doing modern Remy's thing. And I'm like, okay, no, there is no this, there is no that, there is no the other thing. And I really, to each his own. Don't get me wrong. If they want to do whatever, they can do whatever the hell they want to do. It's their thing. But it just irks me every time. Says I'm really doing what Remy wanted us to do, but you're doing it on Ernesto's platform, and that I have the problem with. Remy didn't have all these other. Remy had a lot of one-off titles, which, by the way, that's going to be next week's. We're going to be talking about rank, certification, and modern Arnis titles.
He did get creative on that. But yeah, okay, let's save that for later. So to wrap up then, just the first level of this question, when you're talking about Presas Arnis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Tie that back together again for everyone.
Alex, you got me off the tangent. The reason why I call it Presas Arnis is that my Grandmaster title comes from Ernesto. I do modern, I do Ernesto style, and then I'm doing the two together. What do? Do I call it modern Arnis and say that I'm a Grandmaster and a 9th degree black belt and not acknowledge the fact that that came from Ernesto? Do I focus on the Komaton and completely ignore Remy, who gave me my fundamentals and actually who gave me the skills? No, he didn't give me the skill set. I had to work for the skill set, but I wouldn't be what I am today without Remy Presas. And and part of that was part of my promotion was based on what I did in the world of modern.
Yep.
Not that I couldn't do the Komaton. I've gone back afterwards. I brought students that were able to pass their tests. So, but, it's just not, so then I said, all right, you know what? I'm not going to favor either brother. I'm going to call this Presas Arnis, like the Parker Kempo students called the art Parker's Kempo, because Ed Parker called it American Kempo. When he died, they call it Parker's Kempo. Shotokan, Gishin Funakoshi.
Yeah, House of Shoto is the name of his style, right? Because he was,
That was his pen name.
Yep.
Okay. And what you said, there was Shotokan and Shotokai.
There are at least those. I'm not sure what else, but yes. I'm sure.
And there's other systems that did the same thing.
Right.
That the students named it, paying homage to the teachers. I'm not going to say like whatever Bruce Lee's program of
Jun Fan.
Jun Fan is that Bruce named it after himself. So that's different. He named it,
Right.
Anaya and Eskrima, the family named it after themselves.
Sure. Very common in Chinese styles to name it after the family.
Yeah. But the thing here is I didn't want to play favorites to either brother.
Makes
and
sense.
we're friends with all three brothers. And here's the thing: as an American, I really don't like English words put in the front of my Filipino martial arts. I remember doing a combat jiu-jitsu seminar. I thought it was going to be crap because who would put a name like that in front of it? I'm just going to support the seminar host, who's a good guy and supported me in the past. One of the best damn seminars I ever went to. But my preconceived conceptions, my prejudice of, how could it be good because it says combat jiu-jitsu. It was a great class. So
if you're thinking, paying homage to the brothers and acknowledging that the skills you developed were from Remy's side, but that you also saw some value in investigating the derivatives and whatever else Remy pointed you to, so where does the corpus of modern Arnis fit in Presas Arnis? Well, how does that fit into? Are you doing all of modern inside Presas? Are you starting out with modern and going to Komaton? Are you blending them? I'm sure people want to know that because I've heard those questions before. So I figured I'd just let you talk.
Because I'm pretty good at that. So the white to black belt journey. We'll just use that. I don't like using belts, but it works. The white to black belt journey is modern Arnis, because Remy and Ernesto used in their respective curriculums, actually all three brothers, the core curriculum. You have the same angles of attack. You still do the same block check counter. Similar Sinwalis. Ernesto did more with Sinwalis because he specialized more. So white to black belt is really modern Arnis with just a little touch of this and that as you go up. And then post black belt is when we start looking at other development. Now we do a bunch of enrichment programs. Now what's that? I have modular training that focuses on things like Modern Arnis does Ponantucan. Mm-hmm. But I have a course just on Ponantucan. There's Balintawak in Modern Arnis, but when someone says, I learned Balintawak, really? Yeah, Remy taught me tappy tappy. No, you didn't learn shit. You learned a very small piece of Balintawak. Stop it. Because now you're going to make a bad name for the Modern Arnis people by claiming this, and then a Balintawak person is going to write. You just wrote a check that a Balintawak person is going to try to cash it. It's not going to go well. So what I do, what's this here?
That actually, I was going to ask a question along those lines. So Alex is my straight man for the thing I forgot to ask.
Yes, that's why Ernesto went nuts when I got they hadn't talked in decades. And Remy left the Philippines in the 70s, and he left mad at Ernesto. Mm-hmm. Ernesto told me what the deal was. Ernesto was wrong, but he told me what the deal was. Shocked the hell out of me. So but he admitted what the incident in question was, but who knows how you got there?
Yeah.
Remy may have done something himself that brought it. I mean, you know what?
He's a human. He's not perfect, but yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, no. So I mean, Remy could have had something. He could have contributed to the problem. So Ernesto told me what was going on. Now I don't think Remy got territorial with the states. And here's the thing: if you've never been to the Philippines, you don't know what it's like. And Ty and I went there. I'll tell you, the first time I went to the Philippines, multiple times I was in my room crying my eyes out. I've never seen that level of poverty. Thousands of people living in the streets. And you want to give people money, but you can't because you don't have that much money. I mean, if I had $50,000, it wouldn't be enough to help people. I mean, it's crazy, right? But then again, you were there. Mm. And then, when I went first time in 2007 with Rick Mangalong. Later the first day, we went to a shopping center. 3 of the largest shopping centers in the world are in the United States. I mean, are in the Philippines. And it made me, it balanced me out because, Rick kept saying, hey, listen, don't focus on what they don't have. They focus on what they do have, and that's family. They don't know that they don't have Xbox and all this other shit. Sure. And yes, God bless America. Amen, brother. Every time I get a little full of myself and woe is me. Oh, I got to deal with this. I might be late on a payment. I don't have money for this and all this other shit. Then I think about the Philippines, living on the streets, families living on the streets. Hey, Rob. So Remy being brought up in that environment, I could see him getting very, very protective of his income, and he was a Marshall gypsy his entire life, and he didn't have a home to go to. He served from one couch to another, one Red Roof Inn to another.
I remember him telling us, so we hosted him once in Texas. It was at Raymond's house. But he appreciated staying at the house rather than staying in a hotel because he appreciated that family connection.
Yeah. I'd bring him in for days. I mean, when he first started coming to Buffalo, a lot of people wanted to see him. And he wanted some personal time as well.
Sure.
So the hotel worked out. He also had a girlfriend here, So that helped too. It was great for me because he kept coming to visit her.
There you go.
And then he settled down, and then I was bummed out. Actually, we were still working on where Janice and I were just about to ask him to move in with us for say, hey, listen, why not like 1 month just come to Buffalo, go away, come back on weekdays, stay with us, do some, you want to kick in some money for food or whatever you can, but I mean that's up to you. Do your laundry, we can train, hang out, relax, go to the fall. He loved going to the falls. Just chill out, train, whatever you want to do, hang out, relax, train. But and then obviously that didn't go well.
But
You know,
so I was going to say, back to finishing up that question, so we can go to the next one if you don't mind. So you talked about bad blood a little bit between Remy and Ernesto, and yes, there is some, and yes, you got them to talk,
Yeah.
and it's probably an on again, off again thing. What about Roberto?
I don't think there was much problem with Roberto.
I hadn't heard of any.
I think someone tried to sponsor him coming to the States, and I think Remy got on that shit real fast.
Well, that's the protectiveness, yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and Roberto didn't want to, he loved his big brothers.
Sure.
Both of them, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Talked about then, how where modern fits in Presas Arnis and what it makes up and sort of when it comes up on the backbone. Is there anything else you want to say on that before we talk about the next question?
Well, I started saying, and I didn't go about another reason why I was doing the Presas Arnis is that teaching seminars for other groups that I'm different. And if I called it Presas Arnis as a synthesis of multiple things, then it's no longer someone else's wrong. Now, we know if you hang around Professor any period of time, he would have said something, oh, you could do that too, but do this, and everyone thought, oh, wow, look, he's allowing me to do my innovation. No, he's saying you're screwing up, moron, get on page,
Yep.
But yes, you could do that as well, but I want you to do this. He was the nicest way of correcting you.
Yeah. Well, with me, maybe he was more blunt. I don't know. He would always say, "You could do that, but I wouldn't."
Oh, there you go.
But that's one-on-one usually. So, gotcha.
And the Fisticuff Guild says hello from Connecticut. Hello, how you doing, brah? But I mean, that was my thing. One of the things is if I could go with Presas Arnis, and I'm with a group and they're doing it differently. I mean, listen, I'll be the first to say there's a bunch of things I saw out there. People learned incorrectly from Remy. There's things that I learned incorrectly from Remy. So I'm and they had to be updated. But I spent enough time with Remy to have that stuff fixed. And I see it today and I'm like, oh, geez.
And he would change things. So maybe you learned it right at the time and then it's changed.
Yeah. So, I mean, oh my God, it was, everyone would talk about these tapes, the videotapes. Well, it's not that way in the tapes. Well, did you see Remy do this in the tapes? No. like the forms. Okay. Like, well, the forms were done different than the tapes. Well, Remy decided that he wants to do them the way I'm doing it. If you watch the video, 3 people did the forms. Remy was one of them. And all 3 people, 2 of which were husband and wife, couldn't do the form the same way. So, and it's not frozen in time. The art evolved. And that's the problem. Modern Arnis was constantly evolving, and too many people are used to a system that was frozen in time.
Right. Well, and talking about the forms, what I saw was that he looked at that as a path, and he was more concerned about the applications that you pulled out for you than the exact details, as long as that was self-consistent and it fit within certain guidelines. But I mean, he was pretty laissez-faire a lot of times with the forms, from what I saw.
Yes. What I like to say, he allowed for stylistic interpretations.
There you go.
So if you had a Kempo background, the form was probably very Kempo-esque. Mm-hmm. Karate, Taekwondo, Kung Fu, fill in the blanks. He was moving away from that.
I didn't feel strange for once.
There you go.
As a Kung Fu guy.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Okay. So mapping out that then modern fits from 0 to black, and then of course the development pieces, and then continuing on. So let's see, what are the core things? You've got all the forms that Remy did. You've got all the basics. You've got the toppy pieces. Can you sort of run through an overview of what in modern is that core that makes up that side of things on what you call Presas?
Okay, so what material do I teach?
For modern, yeah.
All right, so we would start off with an angle of attack, which I've modified my delivery systems on a lot of the stuff. I found better ways to teach, but that being said, I do the angles of attack, I do the block check counters, the obstruction removal with the extension of that. We do all the striking styles, which some people, the Europeans call the traditionals, Bandia Banda, Rumpita, figure 8, double action Abanico. I usually mix that with Harada as well, which is a single stick redunda, even though it's put in the Abanico family. We do all the 12 disarms, Post black, we do the disarm reversals, just, which is really just the basics applied to them. We do the police. We have a structured format for that. It is not some whatever. This is how we go in. Trapping hands, Decadina is a huge part. Trapping hands as a one step, you attack 1, 2, 3, or whatever variations. And then the Decadina blending drill. Mm-hmm. We would do Sinwali boxing, which a lot of our Ponantukan comes from that. We've taken the Sinwali boxing for those who've done that. We've had a pad drill element, which really flows very nice. Mm-hmm. Professor would have loved it. And then Sombrada drill, the 6-count drill, which what I've also done is a lot of the things that I've put in is I've given things names that didn't have them
right
before Professor named them, and a lot of times you can tell people were whispering things in his ear. Like in Police, he would do stick takedown to the ground. It's an arm bar, and he didn't have it, and someone sit there probably said something like compress elbow is from Police. It's a one-handed arm bar. But someone probably said to him, Professor, do you compress the elbow here? Ah, yes, compress elbow. Very good.
Right.
Okay, let's see here. Mr.
Oh, yeah,
Alex,
just a few questions here, and then we can go on.
So we had one, innovation is usually shunned upon during the early stages. The problem here is a lot of the people in question are black belts. So sometimes Professor would... Well, I don't think they were innovations. I think they got it wrong. That's why Bobby is an anomaly, because he encourages the use of our core within the development of our techniques. There you go. Mm-hmm. And Eric, let's see what Eric has here. Our Arnis is very Shotokan. Samboy's instructor, Arnis and Shotokan. Of course, exactly. Because, now, listen. Remy did the art within the art format, which was building on the DNA of something else.
Mm-hmm. Whatever you brought to the table.
Exactly. So everyone's going to have that's the problem with modern. There's a lot of quote unquote modern people that significant rank or significant claims. And in the FMA community, people are like, that guy doesn't really do good. Tim, you're like the first Arnis guy that I think can move, And I'm like, well, if they're modern Arnis, what are you looking at? A modern Arnis is the art within your art. So we try to increase your martial ability by teaching you Filipino techniques and concepts. Looking at them from that point of view, did he accomplish it? Did he make them better? Well, oh yeah, I think the guy's a lot better. Exactly. So is he a good Filipino martial artist? No, I'm going to say no. He's because Remy, with most people, weren't trying to do that. He was trying to make them better by teaching them concepts and maneuvers to add to their core. Now, he did want to do this as a standalone program and was moving in that direction. But you're going to see a lot of it. Like if you're down in Philly, you're going to see a lot of Kempo. A lot of Kempo influence. You're up Richard Roy's way. You're going to see a lot of Tai Chi influence there. In some areas, like Buffalo's a wild, you had Ishinru, you had Taekwondo, you had Kung Fu, you had a little of everything in the mix, and Kempo. So everyone moved a little differently. Yeah,
my, Eric, my first instructor, he was a huge Okinawan Kempo guy, really good at that. And so there's a flowiness there, but it's different than my built-in flowiness. So that it colored what we learned, and I enjoyed it and could relate because there was enough of a connection. But of course, then I moved my own strange way too.
Well, we're all strange people, aren't we?
That's right. That's right. So you mentioned extensions or tweaks, or maybe changing numbers and stuff. Would you call those modifications to what Remy was doing, or how would you describe some of those things that are maybe someone coming from a modern maybe they came up in the 90s like I did, and they came in and wanted to train with you? How would they see those changes?
So a lot of things, a big nomenclature thing. I've had, I remember Jay Spiral. She and I did some tests together in the past. She was Detroit, one of the early modern Arnis black belts. And she joined the organization for a while. And she looked at my curriculum and she's like, man, we don't do any of this. I'm like, and then she even pointed out, like, we don't even do spear hand. I mean, Remy didn't do any of that. I'm like, Jay, do you do the forms? Well, yes, I do. In the 7th form, is there not a spear hand?
Yep.
Yes. So, oh, you deconstructed the forms. That's exactly what I did. You know, I didn't start. I started in Remy's art. I didn't start from karate or taekwondo. I started in this. So I really was a blank slate, and I looked at the forms and I deconstructed all the elements, and I threw some extra punches and kicks in because everyone else did the same thing, you know. But the thing here is most of my movement can be tracked to either the forms or open hand interpretations of weapon techniques. So, you know, but then I name stuff, you know, and that's the thing that throws FMA. Of course, it's FMA.
If you were taking notes at the camps, you had to come up with names a lot of times. I remember writing down some names, and then you would suggest, hey, do this, that, or other thing. I'm like, oh, and then you'd show me. I would go, oh yeah, I call that a something else altogether. And so the material was the same. We could recognize each other, but not with the names. Yeah.
The thing I tell people is, listen, here's the written. You know what's okay? What's different between us and all the others? I've got an established written curriculum that's over 3 decades old. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, here, take the sheet and let's make it Rosetta Stone. We'll go page by page and say, and we'll go through, and then you can just write a little note. I do. We did at the one camp. I just did a quick check. I said, we're going to go through the Panantuka module 1. All right, quickly. It took 10 minutes to go through the entire module because I didn't train it. I demonstrated what each piece was and what the name was. Okay, what's this word again? Okay, ba ba ba. Okay, great. And everyone took a note. What's this again? Pa, pa, pa. Oh, okay. Everyone took another note, you know.
Because if you copied down what Remy said, it was do this. So not everything can't be called do this.
Yeah, no. The one that goes like this. Right. How many ones can go like this?
Right.
But I looked at things and go, okay, we do police. This is an arm bar. How many different ways can you do an arm bar? Is there an arm bar in the technique? So then, yes, then the name arm bar needs to be in the technique somehow. So when we do the police, Remy does the stick takedown to the ground. Well, if you do it with the stick, it is an arm bar it looks differently, but it's an arm bar. Mm-hmm. Then you do the open hand interpretation of it. You see the arm bar directly. Then there's slashing arm bar, different entry. You do
even the pancake is an arm bar manipulation.
Well, there you go. Yeah, is that I think that's my shin arm bar.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Flip them over. Yeah. Yep. So okay. So you're saying flip the pancake?
Yeah, that's what we called it. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Whatever it took to get to. But I mean, and the thing here is, I always tell people, dragon whipping tail. Actually, I have dragon tail. That's my technique, bastard. You see, he's making fun of me because he's a Kempo guy, and I make fun of him all the time. He's upset because I know this secret technique, rabbit chipmunk, that no one's supposed to know about, that they don't admit to.
So if sober were coming in, and we'll probably even get to this later, some of the changes wouldn't actually be changes. They would just be nomenclature, kind of get everybody getting on the same page.
There would be a couple different things. So first of all, they would have to get used to the names, which is not a big deal. You know, if anyone that if you've got any kind of patience, if you just say, hey, listen, I know most of this. I just got to figure out what the name is. Sure. The other thing is that I haven't been in the place where I haven't found out that people have said, we've got some of the best delivery systems for material you're going to find out there. Okay. So I have done Modern Arnis as a standalone system since 1985. I've been teaching full time as a profession since 2000. Prior to that, I was still putting in full-time hours with a day job. So I probably do, like right now, I'm doing 20 hours a class of teaching, or 20 hours a week of teaching between all my classes and private lessons and stuff like that. If you
30 years is what you're saying?
30 years of this. Okay. Well, I mean, when I became an instructor at John's, when I became a guru, I took over all the classes, all the kids' classes, and the beginner adults. So I was teaching 8 weeks of class. 8 classes a week since 1985 there. And then I started my own thing. And that's not even talking personal development. You know, most Modern Arnis people did 2 hours a week if you were being generous. So let's say 4 to 5 weeks, that's 8 to 10 hours. I was doing 20 hours a week. Mm-hmm. So no one has no one, to my knowledge, save Professor himself, taught the amount of hours that I have, which means it gave me plenty of times to experiment with different delivery systems. And my brother Maul Morney, how you doing, Maul?
Nice.
Oh, dude, when this is over, we got to do that seminar together we were talking about.
So quick math before I get to the real question. That's if I'm doing my math right, that sounds like 1,000 hours a year. So if you did that for 3 decades, that's 30,000 hours of teaching, just classes, let alone anything else.
That excludes seminars, camps, etc.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then we're taking 2 weeks off because of holidays.
Sure, or whatever else happens. Seminars.
Yeah,
I get you. I mean,
yeah. Well, then the seminars. Think about this. So worst case scenario, like, okay, what do I do now? I leave on a Friday, so that means I still do the bulk of my classes. The only classes I'm not doing are my Saturday. I have my one private on, so I'd miss basically 3 hours of teaching. So that'd be 17 hours plus I do a seminar and or a camp and any private lessons with that. So how many more hours? I mean, what do we figure a camp is, like 20 hours?
Yeah, 2 full days and some edges on the side, right? That's about that.
Yeah.
20,
so
25.
Then I'd go from maybe a 20-hour week to maybe with privates a 40-hour week of teaching.
Well, and probably if you're like me, when you came back from a camp, you might have wanted to grab your people and work the material a little more to make sure you kept everything.
Yeah,
I did that.
Well, and of course, I'm going and experimenting with different teaching, different teaching platforms. So this is me going to teach seminars, let alone when I attend them.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm just talking those teaching numbers. So
I get you. Yeah.
You know, I mean, while Remy was alive, I was teaching 20 seminars a year. So how many hours was I logging? You know, I mean,
right.
So with that, it's given me plenty of opportunities
to experiment on people.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Hey, by the way, Maul, if you're still looking, Alex Omaza says, "Oh, Maul is on here. What's up?"
There you go. You get to introduce some folks. Good.
Well, no, he knows that they met they met at Russia House.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I have not been to one of them.
Other events.
I know Pasarkin, but I have not been to one of those. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we kind of framed, where modern fits in, and that it's all in there in Presas, and then there's modules and pieces elsewhere. We've talked about some of the things that might seem different, but that aren't, right, because of the naming conventions and things like that. So say, and I've had this happen before. People might, what do I, hey, I've been kind of orphaned, or I've been doing modern on my own. But they're kind of leery to hook up with anybody, not just you. So what would you tell someone like that about what involved in a process, whether, even if it's not with you in general, how should they approach that, considering maybe they want to keep learning, keep advancing, keep exposing themselves to different things and supporting their people?
Well, I would just tell them go train with anybody. I mean, I tell people like people come and train with us, and they don't need to be students.
Right.
I'm glad you're enjoying it there, Joe.
Or just get out there. Yeah, get out there and train regardless. You don't have to join anybody.
No, you just do your own thing. I mean, our guys, you being one of them, have gone, you can go around to all these different events. You've been to the IMF events. Mm-hmm. The only event you haven't been to is a Jeff Delaney, because he's gone kind of hermit,
I've tried. I've reached out a couple times. I probably could have had more energy, but I've tried over the years. I'm sure I'll get to one again eventually. Remember, we came up together in Texas.
So yeah, exactly. So if we're talking the post Remy apocalypse, you've come to the WMA. Obviously, you've gone to the Mott's camps on more than one occasion. You've gone to Bruce's. You've gone to Brian's, who's since split since then. I think that's in the States. Yeah, I think that's it. And then you've gone to Dieter's. You've gone to the Philippines with us,
right?
So you've seen all the major players that are still teaching.
I think you do what I do too, right? So somebody say they're in Houston, right? For example, and I know some people in Houston. I say, look, you can train with Ed Kwan, you can train with Earl, you can train with Ashley. All the people. I don't care who they're with.
I'll be the first to say, if someone says, "Hey, we want to train," I want to recommend them to one of my guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I would rather send him to someone else. Let me see. Where do you go? Mal Martin. I think Datu would look better as a baldy. And
that's funny.
That ain't right.
That is not right.
That's so wrong.
Just for that, now I'm picturing Alex with purple hair. So
okay, all right.
Presas Apocalypse. There you go, Joe.
Presas Apocalypse. There you go. Yeah.
But I think that's a key that people forget. Right? People will ask you, who's here and who's there. And I think you do the same thing. You can verify. But if we know anybody doing a piece of Remy's art, and they're in the area and people want to do that, we point them to those names, regardless of anything else.
I bumped into a guy I hadn't seen for years. He's in Detroit. He was over at Chuck's school. Chuck and I don't get along. And he's like, hey, I'm like, dude. And Chuck's school's no longer around. And it was one of the UPenn kids. And he's like, I'm like, dude, you're training. What do I care? Keep training. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking for the art. I'm like, I don't care. I know you'd rather be with one of my guys, but we don't have anyone in Detroit. Train with Chuck. It's there. Take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
There we go.
Well, and part of the reason I do that, right? I do that for the students, but I also do it because I'm a greedy, whatever you want to call it, right? I want to see what everybody saw. You mentioned it before. What did you miss? I want to see what other people saw so I can frame my own knowledge. But anyway, okay. So let's see. Onboarding, that kind of good stuff. We're getting close to the end there. So before I don't have any giant wrap-up questions. So actually, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say what you want to say about Presas Arnis, while, of course, talking about that subject so we don't go off in la-la land like we sometimes do.
Okay, so here's, once again, my biggest thing is to pay homage to the family. It's not about me. It's about the system moving forward. And the brand, I think, that will better suit everybody is Presas Arnis, because it celebrates the name of the Presas family. It's not an ego thing. I'm not trying to – I don't even know. Some of the comments I've heard about this, it just seems really silly. That being said, Presas Arnis is about promoting the whole family. Now, when it comes to what we're doing, I was thinking about this the other day. Okay, you are a greedy son of an unnamed goat. Okay.
I think Joe's picking on me because we're tight like that.
Yeah. I'm like, what kind of goat? But the thing here, and actually, here we go. I just want to talk about the structure real quick. What I'm going to do is I have a graphic. Go figure.
Uh-oh.
This is a good one. Shows a little about my personal
journey.
Yeah. Well, this is Presas Arnis.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that is going to be stupid. Hold on.
It's doing the thing, yeah.
I don't know why it's doing the thing. Okay, there we go. Oh, wait. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of the brand. No, you can keep the banner. I'm going to get rid of the brand. Hold on.
Hey, Chris.
Okay. So, and, Datu. Okay, Chris is always chiming in there. And then next time we'll open you on. Okay, we'll see who that wonderful man is. Is that us? I don't know. Okay,
that would not be us, right? Even though we love Alex, I'm sure that's not us.
So, I want to talk about what Joe just wrote. Joe said it right there. Yep, so if we look at this right here, the Presas family system, the blue is the most amount of influence. The Presas family system moved into modern Arnis. Dulce Pares had a huge influence on Balentois, which then influenced modern Arnis. Small Circle had a big influence. The black is less influence. The dotted lines, Remy had a Shotokan and judo background. A lot of that is for more the structure of the system. Now, from there, modern Arnis goes down into the Presas Arnis synthesis. From there, shot over to Combatant. Because I trained Combatant and I put that in the Presas Arnis. I did a lot of extra work with Wally, I did not get a black belt. I don't claim to be a black belt, but that's okay. But there's a lot of influence. I've had a lot of personal time with him, and some things it was good. Bondo and Panatukan had big influences. Bondo's from more of a teaching structure. Panatukan are a lot of combatives. And then the Lana Kuntao and the Sikaran. It all pops into that. This is my martial synthesis. Now, the thing that here I want to talk about, this is a little backwards. Professor did the art within your arts. I embrace that. I embrace that quite a bit, but not the way everyone thinks. I do Kombatan as the art within my art. I do it from a modern Ernie space. I do my Balintwak from a modern Ernie space. I do my Sikaran from a modern Ernie space. I do my Kuntao. I do my Panatukan. I do all of this from my modern Ernie space because I look to see the elements. I was an archaeologist going to see the things that made modern Ernies and going to the root systems and pulling more of that to the thing, like Remy was doing, and how Remy put me on the Balintwak path to help pull more of that material out. But everything I do is from modern Ernies first and foremost. So I'm doing that art within your art, but my art is modern. And the other arts are to bring back this source material that originally was there and going more, because this generation, you and I and all the others, have to continue the evolution of the art while keeping the core concepts intact.
So it would be fair to say that one of your ways you tried to do that was to dig into what made him get where he was. Since he wasn't around, we went back to some of that source material and tried to understand what he was sharing better to pass it along. Is that why you think, that's why you look at it as modern as the core?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Remy taught Balintwak in the art. After doing Balintwak specifically, this year is my 20th anniversary of Balintwak. Surprise, guys. I've been doing it for 20 years. But a lot of guys put me in a different continuous, put me in a different category.
You didn't switch over to Balintwak. You did that partly because, like you said, he sent you over there to look at some of the real, no kidding, stick dueling that influenced where he shared pieces of.
And so basically, it's all the same, and that is right on.
Yeah, some guy on the side there said that. Oh,
that was that. I just put it right here. There it is. I put it up there already. And by the way, it does stand for the greatest of all time.
There you go.
And here we go. I agree with your presentation with regards to the Presas family tree. God bless and Pugai Poi. And this is a Presas family member telling us that. Go figure. Mr. Rebello, there are lesser resources of Keto Campo. Yeah, yes. Alex, you are doing the elements of Balintwak. You've been doing elements of Balintwak. Big difference. I'm not sure I'm taking that the right way.
Probably not. I don't know.
I've been doing Balintwak separately, and then I put elements back in. I keep my Balintwak pure, but I enhance my modern with Balintwak. So there's a couple.
Right. Well, there's a couple layers there too. You can pull that apart with. But
yeah.
There you go.
Everything through base. Might have to be PTK.
I think Paulo gets what you were doing, right? Yeah. Filtering everything through the base of modern, which is the gift.
Conversation, Ari Kempo influence, tracing it to Bruce Jutnik in the 70s version. I think there's others. And that's that is a Okinawan Kempo too. So that's different than if any of you guys are thinking about Parker's Kempo. There's Kenpo and Kempo. It all depends on who you're talking to. I'm looking to see if there's any okay, I'm gonna have to look at this here, to see if any of these posts. Some people are messaging me on my Facebook. So
okay. Well, once we're ready to, I've got the final question that shall be maybe get you, but I want you to let you finish what you're doing.
Yeah. So I can and do these arts separately. That's how I've learned them. Mm-hmm. When I did Balintwak, I learned it as Balintwak. When I did my Kuntao and my Sikaran, those two I learned together. I was going to Toronto for those from Hugh Mark de Leon. But I passed their black belt tests. I'm a second degree black belt in both. And I think Sequeron, you go black, then first degree and second degree, like Modern did. But every art that I did as itself. So when I went to Ted Buat, Ted didn't teach me concepts. He taught me the art.
The ungrouped version.
The ungrouped methodology.
Yep.
Now, what I do now is, and a lot of us, you included, we've added the grouping methodologies to see how the other side of the other side of the family does things, and we like doing it. We have fun with it. I like a hybrid. I like playing with the groupings, but I also like doing the ungrouped. I think they both have, the grouping methodology is really good for getting people moving quicker, as in getting on board quicker. The ungrouped can be frustrating at times.
Well, particularly there's a cost to doing everything, or you pay to learn.
Yeah. So, yeah. But ultimately, I learned these arts, and then I learned to see, as I tried to learn them as pure as I could. And, of course, I'm always look things through it as a modernist eyes, that I can't help that. But then I sit there and say, well, this came from here. I mean, from the moment I got my black belt, I was on the road because I knew Remy, this is Filipino Jeet Kune Do. I mean, that's what modernist is. It's just Jeet Kune Do's got a cooler name. And it predates Jeet Kune Do, and Remy pulled all this stuff together. And I went to see all these different arts to see what he pulled, and then come up with my own synthesis or my own idea why he pulled the things that he did. Okay. If we watch the Empty Hand Anyos, you can see an Aikido influence. If you look at the Anyo Apat, you can see a Kempo Karate influence as opposed to Shotokan. Depends on whose eyes.
It really does. I see a lot of Kung Fu when I see it, but that's where I'm coming from. And I think, Alex,
Oh, yeah. No, there's no... oh, my God. My Balintwalk... and it's Kuntaw, Kuntaw. It's not the OU or AO. They're very touchy. I do Lanata Kuntaw with a W.
Right.
And the others get a little porky when. But I had a Kuntaw luminary when I got promoted to black, when I passed my black belt test, and Kuntaw and Sequeron together, and they're like, they congratulated me on my Sequeron, but they didn't touch the Kuntaw thing at all. I was like, hey, at least they reached out and said congratulations. But I mean, listen, I learned the art. I do the art, but I also learned those arts to enhance my primary system.
So it's just another type of deconstruction, if you will, right? You're doing the research.
Yeah. Because like a lot of things, Kuntaw,
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, you are the man. You are the man.
Yep.
Semantics,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's another guy. Here's a Sealot guy. He's the man. This guy's awesome. Yep. Kuntaw O is Chinese, and W is the Philippines. I love you, man.
Same characters, but different transliterations. But
I miss that guy. He's really cool. Have you seen Mal Morny yet?
I have not met him.
Oh, dude, when he's in the state, when things are back open, we're going to make that happen.
So he'll appreciate this. One of my top student who's in Texas, Abel Martinez, absolutely loves watching Mal Morny's stuff. So there you go.
I don't see him make a mistake. He just keeps on moving. And George hopped on. It's going pretty good. You have to watch the rebroadcast. Kung Fu and Kempo's crossover, etc. And Mal gives a smiley face and the thumbs up with that little smirk on his icon there. It's kind of
bagus.
Okay, so anyways, I think my interpretation or my intent is to look at the roots of modern Arnis, bring more of that out there, continuing the research the professor did. And like I said, there's Sequeron in modern Arnis. He gave me my first lesson. I've become, after doing Sequeron, seeing what the stuff, going to the root system, it helped me strengthen up what I was doing. Like Kuntaw changed the way I'm doing. Everything is changing the way because I'm looking at the root system to get better feeling. Like, I know a lot of Jeet Kune Do people who go into Wing Chun because that's where Bruce started.
Right.
They wanted to see where it came from and why he made the choices that he did. And some stayed there. Some preferred it.
So I think this gets to my humdinger question, which will close us out, or you'll kick me off, one or the other, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So if we look at the lineage and how Presas came together, and what your goal was, and how you gathered in from the roots and focus it back in on modern, that kind of good stuff. How is that different in some people's eyes? How is that different than somebody doing their own natural evolution or their own derivative? How do you reconcile those kinds of different viewpoints about, exclusive modern anise or consolidating modern anise and then having a derivative of your own with your own innovations? How do those two reconcile?
You mean my own art?
Yeah, or like what we talked about last week when you were discussing kind of, what was kind of modern anise exclusive, what was modern anise kind of a derivative. And again, I think we were, I hope, very careful not to be pejorative, but what were you trying to say with that, and how is this different?
So what we were saying last week is that some have gone like Kelly Warden is a perfect example. Modern anise influenced.
Sure.
Probably about 20% of what he did. You can see it, but his expression is not modern. But he definitely does a great job of incorporating modern anise combatives in his synthesis. So the Marshall concepts are going to keep going. When you look at derivatives, I look at Combatant, where it came from modern and went a different direction because it was from a different era. And people didn't have all the current, they didn't have all the pieces, I guess. I look at some of the other systems that came from the Philippines that are heavily Combatant based, and they have modern Remy Presas spice. And here's the problem here. Okay, so everyone knows, because here's the problem. Ernesto was using the name modern anise for the longest time, but his physical expression was not what Remy was doing, until Remy finally said, "You need to change the name," which made sense because his martial, he was adding stuff in there and created his own stuff. He's a world-class martial artist. Why would you give Remy credit for doing the Double Baston program? Because Remy was the founder of modern anise. End of story. His brothers weren't even in their teens when he created the system. They contributed, but at the end of the day, who was the founder? Remy Presas. End of story. So if Ernesto develops his whole double stick program, why would you give Remy credit? This goes back to my Combatant or my Blindswat comment. Anjan Bacon didn't create the groupings. That was Jose Villasin. So why you don't give him credit for that? Give Villasin credit for it. Okay, because there's two branches. There's the ungrouped and the grouped. End of story. All right? And the Bacon Buet lineage that I come from is not the only branch that didn't do groupings. The Veek didn't do it.
Right.
And so eventually Ernesto changed the name of the art to Combatant. Okay, and I think it's a sexier name, to be honest with you. I wish Combatant was our name instead of modern anise.
Name.
It was a really good name. It was a great name.
Didn't he also come up with Arjukin? That was Ernesto as well, right?
I think that was that more of an organization than it was.
Oh, that might have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was,
But there's a lot of that happening around that time too.
Yeah.
And then when did Roberto come up with or his name, and you should probably talk about his innovations as well.
So Ernesto, I think it was right around the same time. Roberto Presas created Henegran, the hometown Arnis D'Amato. So basically, Remy was a single stick fighter, Ernesto was the double stick fighter, and Roberto was the stick and dagger fighter. All three of them world-class martial artists. All three of them expressed themselves differently enough to merit it being called a different system.
Well, they had different curricula and expectations. And
yes. Did they still have the same ABCs? Sure, they did. It all came off of the same body. But for any of you car guys out there, for those who remember the Dodge Neon and the PT Cruiser, they were both built on the same chassis. Two completely different cars, but they were both built on the same chassis. So here you got three Marshall systems, all on different with the same chassis. You have separate programs to. Yep. So we do a lot of the stuff post black belt, and we do a lot of modular training as well to enhance. And there we go. Okay. Oh, here we go. What's this say? Very well explained with regards to the question raised. Thank you. Salamat po.
Mabuhay.
We are not trying to disrespect anybody. We're trying to put things in the proper context. We don't want to talk about gossip or bad families. You know what? Family shit is family shit. End of story. It should just keep it that way. But we got to address some of this on why the family, the three martial systems. And there may have been some personal stuff in there as well. But the fact of the matter is, all three brothers had similar but different martial expression, different enough that they merited to have their own martial systems. Unfortunately, for the longest time, Ernesto was using the name modern. So when I bump into a European modern Arnis practitioner, we learned modern because we came from Ernesto. Really? Okay, but what was he teaching? Well, yeah, his double stick stuff. So it was Kamada. No, it was modern because he called it that. Like, that's not how it works. He never, because they weren't doing the tappy-tappy. They weren't doing the small circle influence. They weren't doing the Sinwali boxing. They weren't doing any of this stuff. They weren't doing modern Arnis. They were doing a modern Arnis derivative. Presas Arnis is still doing the modern Arnis material with enhancements.
And delivery might, but the material doesn't change.
No. And that's it. Okay, listen. Okay. You tell me if this is different. Anyone can chime in on this one. Remy really never, when we talked about the angles of attack, we talked if it comes from the right foot in front, comes from the left foot in front. When we talk about the follow through type strikes. When you're doing the hit ats, who cares? You're sparring, you don't need it. You usually do weapon side forward. But when you're doing follow through footwork or follow through striking, Professor was very, if he was teaching in front of a camera, he didn't do footwork. If it was the first time you didn't know, what you're doing, he didn't work on footwork. He does what I do, upper body isolation, just get the arms going. Later, we'll get the feet going. Well, if you never got the second lesson, that's on you. It's not on me. It's not on him. Maybe you never got to the point where he was ready to teach you the footwork. But the footwork was, if it comes from the right foot front, comes from the left foot front. And I would talk about different body mechanics and all this other stuff. Then I met a guy named Dr. G, who taught twice with Remy, and I hosted both events. And they became good friends right out of the box. Mm-hmm. And Dr. G teaches the same format. And then the question was, well, why do you do this? And I talked to him. I said, hey, better body mechanics. I go, oh, okay. Well, why do you do them, sir? Oh, they're safety cuts or hits. Okay. He goes, I clear the path for the weapon to travel. So if I have my stick on the right and I have my left foot in front as I go diagonal down, there's a chance, if I'm doing a forehand strike, there's a chance I'll cut my leg or hit my leg.
So, but that means also if you're coming upwards, if you're doing an upward strike, then that reverses it.
Yeah. So he had a better explanation. I take his explanation. And I had one of the modernist luminaries when I explained the forms, how we should do this. And I go, the comment, when I explained this, he goes, well, I'd understand what you're saying if it was a blade, but I'm willing to take the shot with a stick. I don't know. Remy told me not to hit myself. I don't, and it doesn't matter. You should train it as if everything's the same, no matter what. So let's see here we go. Datu Tim, what do you feel is the greatest contribution to the, it's hard for me to see this because my camera's right in the way.
I'll read it if you want.
Yeah, please.
So first off, I'm going to say I think you paid Alex, but I'll go ahead and read the question. Teasing you, Alex. Datu Tim, what do you feel is your greatest contribution to the transcendence of the art of modern Arnis?
Structure and teaching progressions. I think I have bumped into people who started before me. I remember the first camp I went to was the Mississippi Summer Camp in 1986. The host of that attended a seminar I taught in Jacksonville, Florida. He talked to the host, Ernie McKinney, afterwards. He goes, I knew most of the stuff that Tim taught, but I had never seen it delivered that way. He's got some really slick teaching progressions. And I feel that I am, as Americans, and I'm one of those guys, you had the two piles of toys. the pile that you took apart were able to put back together, and then the ones you couldn't figure out how to put back together. Eventually, my toys of putting back together were bigger than the toys I couldn't put back together. And every time I look at something material-wise, I tear it apart because that's how I studied on my own. I didn't have Remy around. Mm-hmm. I left my instructor, John Bryan, as a brown belt before he left town, before I found myself in a school that was gone. And there's other issues here and there. But I started my own thing. Remy recruited me after that when he found out I quit. And I only had an instructor a couple times a year, which actually ended up being quite a bit because I went on the road to follow him. But I didn't have a day-to-day instructor. I had a weekend instructor, and that was maybe once or twice a month if I was lucky. Yes, and it is, sir. It is.
And I think, Americans really can appreciate that because of our teaching structure. We want building blocks. We want interactions. We want progressions that walk us forward and let us build and form our connections. So we understand the material rather than just do this. So I appreciate that too. I use that all the time as well.
What is a platinum lock?
Platinum lock.
Oh, my hair.
Oh, lock. Very good. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes, and that's my other contribution to the art. My hair. You know who I am is really, dudes, I'm the ultimate badass. I'm Ray Spannon.
There you go.
If you have to watch, see who remembers that one. Well said there, Tye Botting. Does anyone know who Ray Spannon is?
We don't want to age ourselves.
Okay, all right, so, and then Chris got that one.
Nice.
So I would think that would be my biggest contribution to the system, or the art as a whole, is the teaching format and the organization. I mean, a written curriculum, well organized, as well as better ways to teach the material that our predecessors came up with. And of course, it's Johnny Quest there, my friend. So was there another question in there that I need to know about, or?
I don't know. Actually, maybe do you want to open it up? I mean, I know we're running late, but do you want to open it up, see if anybody else has got any other firing offs?
Sure.
Oh, there we go.
When did the WMA start, and when do you start using Presas Arnis?
It's a good question.
So I wrote it down on paper in 98. And the reason why I wrote it down on paper is that all the other people that were training modern Arnis came from another system. So they had karate, taekwondo, fill in the blanks as we talk about. So if something ever happened to Remy, they had a fallback plan. They had a safety net. I had nothing. This is all I was doing. So I just toyed the idea with World Modern Arnis Alliance. I actually found a notebook. It was in 1998. Presas Arnis happened when Ernesto Presas passed away, and that was 2012. So basically, and I'm gonna out myself on something. Okay. So Ernesto had promoted me in 2007 to 9th degree and Grandmaster with the intent to promote me to 10th degree. He acknowledged me as his brother's top student. That's his acknowledgement, whether other people felt that way, whatever. So the year that was supposed to happen, he passed away a few months before that happened, before that opportunity. So, and I have been toying with the idea for Presas Arnis a lot because, once again, if I'm doing something different, it could just be different with a different name so people are less intimidated. And I wanted to pay homage to both brothers. And the organization is called the World Modern Arnis Alliance. So we still pay homage to Modern Arnis.
Front and center.
Yeah, right up front and center.
Yep.
And then the style is Presas Arnis because the Presas name has more marketability, I think, and than Modern Arnis. And the thing here is that everyone talks about, you always talk about marketability, you always talk about the business. What I'm talking about is the longevity of a name. And Presas Arnis is cooler. A lot of people, I mean, you had a guy from the Philippines give you grief for doing a Modern Arnis class, and the person in the Philippines didn't know that probably the biggest style that came out of the Philippines was Modern Arnis, right. And he thought you were disrespecting it when actually you were paying homage to your teacher.
Right. They thought I was modernizing Arnis, and who am I to do that? It was kind of funny, but oh well.
So 2012, we put both programs together officially and said now it's Presas Arnis.
So what about that's? I'll follow up with that because there's another semi-hung question, but I think maybe we should talk about it. How is that related to anybody else who might, or other groups that might be using the same term because maybe they have trained with both brothers as well, and how does that interaction work, or what does that mean for us?
I think I was the first to use that. I know someone else does the same thing now, but that's one individual. Is not a head of an organization. It's a school. And after talking to one of the students, pretty much figured out they took my lead on this. We are the World Modernist Alliance. End of story.
Well, but I wasn't trying to imply any sort of badness there. In fact,
No,
he's
no,
a friend
no,
of
no,
ours,
no,
right?
no,
They're
no.
a friend of ours, and they train with us and all that good stuff.
And the person in question does train with us too. So
Yep.
There's just a difference between.
Here's
Here's
people
what I
get
would
confused.
say. If you want to be certified in the organization, you need to have one of our certs. Go back and forth on this a lot. I used to not want to I didn't want to. What didn't I want to do? I didn't want to put my name on other people's diplomas because, well, I don't want people thinking I'm promoting them.
There's a difference between a witness and a grader.
And I changed my mindset on that, and it took me a while to get over myself or get over that myself. And I just sit there and say, hey guys, it's simple. If it's not my signature, it doesn't count.
Or if it's not on your paper,
or it's not on my paper.
Yeah.
Like here with Remy Presas, I'm going to show you one. I got to put this other one in, the one that Carl Minkle gave me, the one that I've been missing forever and a day.
Oh, nice.
He gave me that blank one with the Remy's photo on it. But here's a diploma. This is pretty slick. Professor actually had these made for me. Just one day, all of a sudden, he just gives me a handful of these things. And it was a diploma. Oh, what am I doing wrong here? Share the screen, moron. I'm talking to myself, by the way. Oh, I didn't do that. And I got to see where the camera's right in the wrong spot. Okay, here we go. So, I still have this here. International Modernist Federation rank certificate and blank, a rank of, on the date, at, printed,
right,
instructor, attending black belt, which could have been myself, pre-signed by Remy.
Wow. I've got some of those, but not with instructor anybody's name, and certainly pre-signed. I mean, certainly if it's mine, it's post-signed.
But Remy had these printed up with my name printed on them.
Wow. We had weird things. Speaking of putting your names on certificates, we had weird things happen at promotions at camps and things like that, right? Because what happened is every black belt at the grading would sign your thing, no matter if they were junior or not. And not that we care, but it does give you some interesting weirdnesses, right? So you can have, say, me signing off on you getting sixth if I were there.
Yeah. So like in this one, okay, so first of all, there's a couple certificates, but if you don't have one of these, and I'm not talking this specific one, but if you don't have one of these, then you're not promoted by Remy. Let me see what's going on there. Very cool document. Thank you. Cool. Like I said, I got the one. That's not going to happen. I got the one with Remy's photos on. I'll bring that up on a future episode. Maybe actually next week we'll do all the diplomas.
Oh, there you go.
So, but the thing here is there was a whole boatload of modern Ernest diplomas. See if I can get to the right file. Oh, it's in to be sorted. What's it doing in to be sorted? Awards and diplomas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got too many. I got too many files on my computer. Oh, maybe it's in photos is what I'm looking for. And there's nothing I have to worry about on this computer, by the way.
Nothing inappropriate.
No. I'll have to. I can't find it. Of course, now that I'm looking for the dang thing, I'm not going to find it. It might be in Datu. I'll try the Datu file instead of closing the window. I will Datu promo. Oh, duh. How about awards and diplomas? Might that be the one?
Could be.
So, here we go. I got all confused. This weekend was my anniversary of becoming a black belt on the 17th, which was that Friday? Saturday? I don't know. Saturday was the first time I got promoted to black belt by Remy. But here's the funny thing. I missed my other promotion because on Friday was the 20th anniversary of me becoming of my last promotion by Remy and Datu. So here's the diploma right there.
Nice.
So Datu Tim Hartman, Lakana Nim, 2016. So this was two anniversaries within a day of each other. But like I said, here's a diploma. This is my first one. I also have the special black diplomas. That one. Yep. Don't know where here are the black ones. These were kind of cool. These were one-offs. Yeah, unfortunately the ink wasn't right. You can see Remy's signature down here, but it kind of it faded away. Right. These were back. I had a couple backup diplomas made up, when I ordered these. My Lima was done at an airport, so I had to get that. I ordered this, so I had it. But here's my Totlo. So if you don't have one of these diplomas, and there's a couple of different styles. I'm not saying the specific one. Didn't have all my diplomas out.
I got a couple of other weird ones if you want to see.
Yeah, if you didn't have one of those, you weren't a black belt.
Here's my second.
Oh yeah.
Recognize that?
Yeah, that's a cool one. I remember those.
Yep. Here's one that you probably don't remember. Remember, you'll know who it exactly is as soon as I show you.
Oh, okay. I know exactly who it is because George's.
Yep. No, that was just from joining his, right? It was just cross accepted.
Yeah. So
there's some
but
history right behind all.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, we gotta, that's exactly right. History. So gotta do this right here. I can bring this up. So I've had a lot of people say this, that, and the other thing, and I made it simple now. If you don't have one of the WMA certificates with my signature on it, you're not certified. And the way I look at the Modernist diplomas, there's only a couple. There's only a few out. I don't want to say there's a few. There's probably like 10 different diplomas.
Yeah.
But if you've got a diploma on somebody else's organization that Remy signed off on, he signed as a witness. He didn't promote units. That was the DKI diplomas. They had 3 signatures. They had George, they had Wally's, and they had Remy's. Some people thought they were certified by all 3 when it was just those 2, George and Remy and Wally.
Oh wow!
Adding the signature to George's diploma to make it extra special.
Wow.
Diplomas, because they'd have all 3 grandmasters signing their DKI diploma, but it was a DKI promotion. It was not a small circle or modern promotion.
Oh, so did you? There's a few notes to catch up on the side there. I don't know if you caught those.
No, so let me get up there. I just put all the branding.
So after Joe was saying he'd love to get one of those, he followed up with a few more funny things, but also it sounds like he would love to go through stuff.
LOL. Get a chance to. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we already talked about this.
Okay.
Very cool historical documents.
Oh yeah.
The black one reminds me of the Tracy's Kempo one. Actually, okay, so the guy who did the black one is the guy who did the ones for Tracy's Kempo. They're out of here. Yeah. And cool, Dan Lohman.
Yeah, is he on here?
I don't know. Where did Dan Lohman come from?
I don't know. I like Dan.
Exactly. Yeah, Dan was cool people. Okay. So, yeah.
Little trip down memory lane, unplanned.
Yeah. So Presas Arnis is trying to pay homage to the Presas family. I didn't name it Hartman, Kali, or Eskrima. The system is that, and the organization is the World Modernist Alliance. Mm-hmm. Modernist right in the name, because that is the mother of all of these arts.
And that's your key right there, yeah.
Dan commented on the Tracy's.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's why I didn't see it. My bad.
I didn't see it. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. Gotcha. I understand you, Brother Joe. Brother Joe is on my shit list right now. I'm going to tell you what. I want to tell you, this is the second time he's done it. Dude, I love you, but you're on my shit list. Because he came into Buffalo twice now, 30 minutes away, does a Kempo promotion, and not once says, hey, Tim, I'm in town, because I would have actually, it was more like 20 minutes. I would have drove to visit him. He did the bulk of the travel. I would have done the rest. You're on my shit list, Joe. I love you, but you're still on my shit list.
That reminds me. So you remember when you stayed and you played with my guys a couple mornings? You remember John Paulson?
Yes.
He's going to be out to the falls here in a little while. I'm not sure when. I told him he should come look you up, and he was like, I don't want to bug him.
Okay, listen, if you go through Buffalo, I am just off Interstate 90. I mean, it is not hard to find me. And by all means, and that segues. Okay, if anyone, and Ty will have a cool one of these too, but if anyone is in the Buffalo area,
Nice.
and so PG Ty is going to get his school up listed as well. We're going to be listing some things coming up.
Yeah, we do have to talk about a few things coming up for both of us.
Yes, we do. I actually have both. I got both graphics queued up, by the way. Look at that. Like I know what I'm doing. Does anyone? Oh, wait, we got a comment here.
From Joe?
Well, let's see. I've had the Black and Modern and the Tracy's diploma. And what is it?
Nice.
I want to publicly apologize for my blatant stupidity and sufficient toilet. Okay, all right. I'll let you go, Joe.
So I always like Joe because you introduced me to him. But what I like, he's got a sense of humor.
I'm sorry I introduced you to him.
No, it's good though. He's got a sense of humor. He has no ego, and he is a martial arts geek. He loves all the things. I can identify with all of those things are great. So kudos to you, Joe.
Well, we're both. I mean, we're geeks on multiple levels, so that even works.
That's true too.
Because we're all sci-fi. All three of us, we're all sci-fi geeks, right? And we're martial art geeks, and it's all good. Good. Okay. Here, I'm going to go over a couple. I'm going to bring up these events. We'll talk about it real quick. If anyone has any other comments, when we come back, we'll look to see if there's any other questions. So let me get rid of the brand. And let's bring up then I'll do well, actually, I could have, yeah. So this weekend, there are two events coming up. So let me, actually, I should get rid of that. Let me do this here. I'm going to do this. Share screen. I'm going to move weird, guys, because I can't see. It really annoys me that my camera's in the wrong spot.
It's doing that thing.
Well, hold on. I'm going to.
There you go. Whoops.
Okay. I don't know why it does such a small. Windows perplexes me.
It's Windows.
Stop it.
Speaking of geek.
You're a Linux guy, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I know what Linux is.
There you go. You're ahead of a lot of people.
I'm another geek. Okay, so this weekend, the World Modern East Alliance Invitational Camp. Sir, take it away.
Yeah, so it's our second annual event. It's out in the middle of someplace that will tell you if you're going. But we're going to do 2 days of full training, night training. This is a big deal. This is just PG Chad and myself. We're going to be doing a lot of neat things, including night training. And we are going to do some rank certification evaluations. So it's a standalone camp in the WMA auspices, but you don't have to put up with Datu Tim.
Exactly. So what we're working on now is to cover more ground. More of the instructors are going to be out doing. Well, we've been doing crazy amount of seminars prior to COVID. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think in the United States, the bulk of the seminars taught for Remy's art was done by the WMA. And I'm not to say that others didn't. I'm just saying the bulk. If we're just talking sheer numbers, because we've got a phenomenal team of PGs alone. Which would be PG Ty and Chad, Craig Mason up in Sudbury, and Sam Wolf down in Ohio, and then PG Jason Arnold does a lot of mixture of things. He does more of a martial fusion with Kempo and Silat and modern Arnis along there. So, but we're definitely having our people out there doing more events because we need to cover more ground. As we talked about on one of my Datu's Corner, are the Filipino martial arts heading for extinction again? And modern Arnis is hurting bad. We lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of ground. And this is an attempt to make up that ground and get more people going in the art. Now, do you have anything else about this weekend's event?
No, I just want to tag on what you said, though, that it definitely, it's about the art and it's about the promulgation of what Remy really gave to us. If we give it back, that's not what we want to do. We want to give it to everybody so that it goes forward.
What I'm really proud of this past year is that we've had our first seminar taught by a third generation student. And Craig Mason is my student. So he's a second generation Remy Presas. His son is a black belt through him. So that was our first third generation black belt, to my knowledge, teaching a seminar promoting Remy's art. So I'm excited, and I'm looking for more of that. I'm looking for that crew to take over after we stop teaching. I can't see that personally. Stop teaching means I'm dead.
Right.
And I've been looking for the last decade for my replacements. Because you got to look. You don't look for the replacement employee when he's going. You look for the replacement employee when you hired the employee, because you always got to think about that exit strategy. I'm looking for that person or people to take over. I'm grooming a lot of people here, but I'm also grooming people elsewhere, and I'm hoping we'll have a good gene pool for that. So let us go to the next event. This weekend, I am doing a seminar with Tuhan Jack Latour.
Awesome.
It is a Zoom seminar. If you reach out to him at ptiacademy@gmail.com, it is $40. It's noon to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And what's going to be happening is I will be teaching open hand combatives from double stick, open hand applications of double stick material. I think Tuhan Jack is doing double stick material last time we talked about it, but I could be mistaken on that. The proceeds for this are following up the seminar that we did with you, or for you, when you did the spring fling. It was to help out Ruel Vera's family. He was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver, and you raised a lot of money for him. This isn't going to raise a shitload of money, but any dime that comes in is going to go to the family.
That's awesome.
So if you feel like doing it this Saturday, if you're in, go to the World Modernist Alliance website, wmarnis.com, or if you go to worldmodernarnis.com as well, you can get there, look up the events. I don't think I have a link for this one. I'll have to put that up there. But you go to this one, you just go to ptiacademy@gmail.com. Tuhan Jack will take care of all the rest. He's handling everything. And then you could reach out to PG Chad as far as this weekend's event in the Maryland area. So
if somebody wants to support the Veras, but can't do your event, can they donate anyway? Can they maybe, who knows, maybe
listen,
catch a replay?
Anybody can send money in that they want. They don't have to attend. I don't know if there's a copy of this or not afterwards. I don't know. So I'm not going to
contact Jack then, right?
Tuhan Jack has got all the details. But even if you just want to donate like $10, reach out to him. He's PayPal, can get it all set up. We'll make sure it gets to the right place.
I'm going to be mean and say people should just contact Tuhan Jack anyway because he's such a nice guy.
He's the man. He's my favorite PTI guy or PTK or PT guy.
There you go.
Because I like Pikiti people, most of them. They put up with me. I don't know why. They're stupid people, naive people.
There you go.
Well, I'm the evil.
Any other?
Datu.
Let's see. Did any questions pop up, or does anybody have any go back?
I don't see. Just Joe's last comment about apologizing for being a poopy head. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap. Okay, so what do you have? Okay, so do you? Oh, where was this?
There you go.
He's a very easy guy to talk to. Who's that?
Must be a 2-on Jack.
Yeah, it's got to be. It can't be him. Not to be confused with Samurai Jack. Completely different guy. He's got funny shoes. All right. Do you have anything?
I don't got any list. I tried to throw some questions you might not have guessed, and I think that worked out well. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm game. Always game. All right. So next week on the Modernist Chronicles, what we are going to go over is the belt structure, certificates, and titles in modern arnis. There's some misnomers, and the one I will say right now is there is only one title that I know of that is rank driven. But we'll discuss what that is next week. Listen, as usual, please go to our social media places, Tye SKF on YouTube, or what's this one here?
But it doesn't say who it is, so that makes it even funnier.
I is a poopy head rapping it. That is better. Please go to Tye SKF on YouTube, or look up PG Tye Botting. You can find me on YouTube at Datu Hartman or Tim Hartman. The Tim Hartman channel is actually a little better. It's got more action on that one, but they're both the same thing. I'm just a moron, and I forgot my credentials. That's what it boils down to. I'll eventually rebrand one of them into something else, but I'm going to see which one gets there. Great questions to PG Tye. Didn't leave much for me to ask. Okay, that's even better. Because he asks crazy questions at times that gets me in trouble. That could get me in trouble. And that's all your YouTube, your Facebook, your Instagram is all Tye SKF, correct?
Yep.
Datu Hartman on most of my platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
I have a Twitter too. It's botting, but I hardly ever use it, so whatever.
Which is why we didn't put it there.
Yep.
You're teaching in the Fairfax area, which will get some contact information for a future show.
Oh, good. Okay.
And whether we do a video or I think we're just going to do panels. The video gets too old real quick. Sure. And we are open for sponsorship. we can be bought. And hey, you are welcome.
Thanks, Jobu.
Jobu, my man. Do I know Jobu? Wait, is Jobu from the Bay Area? Is that who I'm thinking? Is that you, Jobu? Were we in Finland together? Could be. What were you doing in Finland? I really can't tell you what I was doing in Finland. Yes. Yeah. My man. I love Jobu. He's good people. He was a Filipino ninja at the one event. Okay. I'm sure I do. And there we go. Yes, we were in Finland. Yeah, we were all dancing because the Finns, they weren't dancing right.
I need to go see my people. I have not seen them, and I haven't met Tommy.
We'll make that happen. And there we go. I appreciate all the history.
Good deal.
So, listen, we're always looking for different content. So if you have a question specific, we've got a few ideas what we're going to go over. The next one is going to be all about the ranks, the titles, the certification. I'll load up a bunch of diplomas that I can find. If you were looking to do regional stuff, so obviously Jeff Owens had already said he'd be guest spot on this to help us talk about Michigan modern arnis, how it started, where it went, and I know a lot of its evolution, but I don't know its beginning. I want to talk to. I'd love to get Eric on here. Eric Alexander, love to get you on here.
Yes.
But I would like to talk to Frank Schakowsky as well, because he was a student of Eric, and I'd like to get his take on what happened in the Connecticut area as far as development goes. I don't want to talk politics. All I want to talk about is development. And I think there's a lot of good stuff out there. I want to talk about who was whom in the zoo as far as who started what, which explains things like, okay, certain regions were like Philadelphia. It was started really basically by Joe Bridenstine. So he was a Kempo guy with Joe Palazzo's Kempo Association. So all these guys got Arnis influenced by Kempo. And that's, and it's one of the biggest areas for Kempo infusion. I mean, Arnis infusion in the region, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what cities were the hot spots, what areas had a lot of things going on as well, and stuff like that. And like I said, we're going to be doing history for material, titles, this, that, the other thing. A lot of that professor. Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, you can tell them we're looking for them.
There you go. Well, I think actually I think it's fair to say you're looking for guests for regional things. You're looking for guests who want to have their say on kind of some of the issues we're talking about and make sure we don't miss something.
Yeah.
And you're also probably looking for guests that I think your audience is suggesting if we can do that.
Yeah. We have an open platform. Listen. I want you to hear this. I don't get along with everybody. Would you believe that? I can only think about one name in my head that I wouldn't have on the show. And that's because I don't think it would be a productive conversation. But that being said, I'm not the only host. It's a co-host. So I would love to have people on here so they can come on. And, here's the thing. We all got to be either part of the problem or the solution, and when I did the reunion camp 10 years ago, I told people, if you want to be part of the solution, you're welcome. If you want to be part of the problem, yep, he's wearing the shirt. Don't bother showing up. And yes, he can dig it. So, so like I said, there's only one name. And I just think there's, and people will probably be surprised at the name. But the thing here is with Tye being here, I think we can still have that. We can still probably have these people on. I'd love to have people on and talk and whatever. So by all means, reach out to Tye if you don't get along with me. If you do get along with me, just reach out with me. And let's put this together. Let's make this happen. Let's make this grow and get this material out there on this free platform before something happens and we cannot get the information anymore. We've lost too much from too many people passing. Let's not lose any more.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Now I want to know who that is.
No, I don't. Who do you think? Who do you think that is?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone being, what?
Well, and you touched upon that there. So I actually was going to say something earlier when you were talking about the family, the Presas family, and family shit is family stuff. It has nothing to do with the art or teaching or a style. That's personal, right? And so if there are personal issues, that should have nothing to do with the continuation of the art.
No. Mm-hmm. And what are the personal issues? There's the other side. At the end of the day, we all are who we all are. But there's plenty of times I've gone to events with people I dislike, but they were there, and I've got every reason not to get along with Jeff Delaney. We ended up at a Hall of Fame. We had one of the best conversations because we didn't talk politics. We ended up sitting at the same damn table. It was him and I, Lisa and Janice, and that was it. That was the entire table. You were waiting for awkward conversation? No, we had great time reminiscing.
Perfect.
Didn't like him at all, but we had a great time reminiscing because Remy was the glue. He was that magnet that brought us all together. Of course, we weren't all going to get along because he didn't bring together people that I would normally hang with. It's not a bad thing. What's this? You do a lot for Arnis specifically and the martial art in general. Why, thank you.
Oh, I'm just assuming they were talking about me.
I was gonna make a smart ass comment about that. No, I do appreciate that.
No, I'll always attack myself first. It helps. It makes it easier.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we're good. So please go to all the platforms, like, share, like it, subscribe, notification it. Feel free to share this anywhere you want. I don't think we're ever going to break the hour or make the hour time limit that we set that we're talking about. I don't even know where the timer is anymore. It's gone. It's out of there.
Up in the left, yeah.
Oh, geez. It's been 2 hours?
Yeah. Well, we had some good participation, and you know what? That's good. That's great.
We suck.
Well,
that too.
That too.
All right. So, thanks for turning in. Closing word.
I got nothing. Thanks, everyone. Definitely, I like the interaction. This was a lot of fun.
All right. So, as always, everybody, please stay safe, stay sane, and we'll see everybody next week on the Modern East Chronicles for FMA Talk.